Hey everyone, Tony D with a very late night hot take. Sorry I was out. Me and little Joan were out, and man, it's late. It's after midnight. Technically, it's the next day, but I'm going to try to get this hot take in. Maybe you're still up, maybe you're going to bed. It's a new week. Um, Got to talk about Joe Biden because I was on the drive home. I was playing board games with my family. We're really into board games, so it was board game night, and it just went too late. But I'm driving home and I'm trying to think of a video, and I'm thinking to myself, man, Joe Biden. There were so many candidates. There were so many. The Democrats trotted out candidate after candidate. They had so many people on stage. Remember? Like any one of them probably would be better than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's just so old and so incapable. And it's like, if you were going to pick Biden and you were the party leadership, why would you even put us through all that nonsense? It's like you did this like elaborate dog and pony show just to show us you were having, oh, it's a democracy, everybody's voting, and really at the end of the day you picked the easiest guy, the most establishment guy you could possibly pick because he was vice president. And if you look at vice presidents throughout the years, they never really, they don't usually become president. Like H.W. Bush became president. He was VP for Ronald Reagan. And the reason he became president was simply because Ronald Reagan was pretty popular. Now, Trump is more popular than Reagan amongst Republicans, but Reagan at the time, he was considered the God King of the Republicans. They just couldn't believe how popular he was. They loved him. Everything he did, they just loved. And after he left, they just spoke nothing but glowing praise of Reagan. Imagine, if you would, a Donald Trump who everybody liked, because that was one of Reagan's strengths. He was infinitely likable, and he could use his charisma to maximum advantage. I didn't particularly like Reagan's foreign policy and some of the skeevier things he did, but especially some of his foreign policy, because there were some dirty tricks behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be an interventionist like Reagan was, it's best to be a short-term interventionist. And he was. And that's the way H.W. Bush was, too. He went into Iraq, but he got out. Reagan went into Grenada, a tiny little nothing country, and he got out. We invaded Grenada, took the whole place over, and then it was over, and he brought the troops home. And I think at that time they were trying to set up a precedent where it would be like, okay, that's how we're going to run our wars now. We're going to have a war, every presidential term, but it's going to end. It's going to be short. It's going to be a few months, and then it'll be over, and everybody will make their money and go home. But I think what happened is, much like the Fed propping up the economy, like, the more they did it, the more people wanted them to do it more. It was the same sort of thing with war. It was like, well, we had lots of war. Let's have some more. And we made lots of money. We'd make even more if war happened all the time. But Biden sort of comes from that era. So you'd basically be getting a guy who thinks he could go into a place like Iraq, knock a few buildings down and puff up his chest, and then 6 months later pull everybody out and call it a day. But it's not that way anymore. The people who want us in these wars want us entangled for years. They've gotten too used to the money pipeline. They're not going to stop at one war, two wars, one country, two countries. They want us there continually because the money just keeps flowing. And Trump, for all his faults, sees that is an unsustainable model. And he's really the first president who sees that. Obama didn't see it. He sustained the model. He just thought he could run it better. A lot of people referred to him as a technocrat. And he really was. Like, he was kind of good at organizing what we were doing, but what we were doing was bad. You know, he organized the NATO intervention, and for us, it was fine up to a point, but then Benghazi happened, which shouldn't have happened. You know, and I think the reason Benghazi happened, that was the greed and arrogance of Hillary Clinton sending in a diplomatic team way too soon. But, you know, Biden was part of that era too. So you're looking at, if Biden gets into power and actually makes some decisions before he retires and hands it off to Kamala Harris, you know, he's the sort of guy who would say, oh, is Iraq giving us trouble? Let's send the troops back and let's fix everything. Because that's, you know, he's under the delusion that you could do that in a year and be done. You just can't anymore. There's too many people with their hands in the pie wanting to do this. And when you look back at all the people who were on that stage, I mean, you know, Buttigieg would have been, I always said Buttigieg would have been good. You know, any of these people, Klobuchar, you know, they would have been fine. At least they wouldn't be embarrassing. Like, Biden's so bad, he's embarrassing now. He's forgetting things. He makes gaffe after gaffe. And now, this article here, the president was not encouraging what Obama really thought about Biden. And what they're saying is that Obama said stuff like, if there's a way to F it up, Joe Biden will find it. And that's not a very good endorsement. And you could just tell, you know, Obama didn't come out strong for Biden. He could have. He could have stopped this whole primary nonsense in its tracks early on. He could have said, oh, well, I would definitely support Joe Biden for president. I think he'd be great. He didn't do that. Instead, he sat back on the sidelines, and he really still, I don't think he has endorsed Biden, really. Not like in any kind of like, oh boy, Joe Biden way. Maybe sort of tacitly. So what does that say about Biden? Like even the people on his side don't really have any confidence in him. So why is he there? Is he just a placeholder for Hillary Clinton? You know, has that been the plan all along? Is he just going to step aside, or are they going to concoct some sort of medical reason and say, well, you know, he's having episodes and, you know, we've decided he can't do it. But, you know, now you got Kamala there. I don't know what the rules are. Like, you would think the rule might be, well, if he drops out, she becomes the presidential nominee. Maybe that's not the case. It's all going to start to play out. Next week is the DNC. It starts on Monday. So something's going to happen. You know, H.A. Goodman's been calling for Hillary Clinton, and I got to say, they would do better with Hillary, I think. I think there's zero enthusiasm for Biden. Harris has not helped them at all. Why would she? Why would she? She's so unpopular and terrible. If she would have helped them, she would have stayed in longer. You know, Biden kind of painted himself into a corner with this whole, well, I'm going to pick a woman of color thing. You know, to me, that says like he knew he was going to pick her way back then. And he had decided and made up his mind, and that was it. I guess. I don't know why, other than the fact, you know, his son Beau and Kamala were friends. So maybe she's just tight with the whole Biden family, and Biden wants her around because she'll be loyal. But she doesn't really bring anything to the table. She's from California. She's a senator from California. They already are going to get California. You know, usually you pick a senator or a congressperson from a state where you're weak. And, they could bring you over, a swing state. That's why, what's the name? Who's going to speak at the DNC? Kadish? No. Kasich. God, can't think of these names. Kasich, he was from Ohio. That's why, he was a guy like, if he didn't hate Trump so much, he would have been on board to be the VP. Because he was from Ohio, and they would have been like, oh, yeah, he'd be perfect. Because he's from a swing state, and this way we'll lock up Ohio. Because, whatever. I forget where Pence is from. I don't know if he really brought much to the ticket other than the fact, like, he is the responsible one. He's the good cop to Trump's bad cop. He's the reasonable guy in the room. While Trump's like tweeting and acting like a maniac, Pence is like over in the corner go, well, he's got a point. Let's hear him out. But even so, and I think we're going to see a repeat of Reagan, Bush. We're going to see Trump and then Pence. Simply because people are going to go, well, he was Trump's VP. And all Pence will have to do is mimic, not even get it right, really, is just sort of take Trump's path, his populist path, and just not be an a-hole. Probably cruise right to an easy election. I mean, who are the Democrats even going to put up next? I mean, if they put up a guy like Biden, and they practically destroy the party in the process, what the hell is next? I mean, I can't imagine. I think part of the reason they put up Kamala is just because I don't think she can run as a presidential candidate. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see her come back. I think this is her last hurrah, and they're just sort of throwing her a bone. And then this way she's out of it forever. I don't think Elizabeth Warren can go again. She's too old. Definitely Bernie's out. So you got Tulsi Gabbard, who I think would make a great candidate. Buttigieg, who'd do okay. Klobuchar could certainly try it again. And some of the other, I mean, there were so many people. Not Bill de Blasio. Oh, he's done. But you just got to wonder, man, Biden, just because he was the VP, like, such a lazy choice. I think, like I said, this may be the last hurrah of the Democratic Party. They may be out of power for quite some time to come.